And certainly a lot of questions and variables. So Ed Fleming is the attorney for the folks who are purchasing. They have not? They have purchased it. Okay, they purchased the lot. And there's some license stuff that has to take place first. So there's a liquor license there at the Beachcomber that needs to be dealt with first by the folks who purchased the property. So that, I think, we can expect to come first in terms of the public hearings. And I know that they're going to speak to some of the different things that are going to happen on the site and talk about some of the boards and commissions that they're going to have to go in front of. Many of the things this evening are going to be directed towards Ed, and then, of course, the architects. Brian Donner is here as the architect. He's been the architect of many projects across the city, and I want to thank you all again for being here. This really is your meeting, so I'm going to ask that the way we work on this is that Ed gives a brief overview of the proposal, ask them to get through as much of their project in their proposal for you all tonight as possible, and then we can take questions after. Sometimes, not just because sometimes those questions you might have are going to be answered during the presentation, but also just to give it sort of a little bit of an easier flow. I know people will come in and go out and spend too much time getting on questions before their answers, then sometimes that makes the meeting a different flow. So if you let them get through their proposal first, that would be great. If there's some burning question they have that isn't clarified at that moment, please do go ahead and ask it. But we'll hopefully have questions after the proposal. And so there is nothing filed right now. So this plan that you see is not filed at zoning board or planning board. Those are public meetings where you'll be able to speak for or against the project or go and get more information. But this is an initial stage, and some things, change. Many of you have been at many meetings, and at the outset of a project, things sometimes change a little bit, sometimes they change drastically. So with that, I'm just going to ask Ed Fleming to go ahead and introduce himself and the team here. I know the owner of the property is here this evening, and with that, I'll turn it to Ed, and we can go for questions a little bit later. So thanks, Ed.
Hello, tonight. Thanks for coming out. I appreciate it. I'm not surprised that there's such a big turnout. I think we've all waited to see what's going to happen with the beach for the last several years. There's been a lot of projects that have come around. You've probably seen them in the paper. There's a lot of talk, discussion about different projects that are moving forward. Nothing's come to fruition. No one's really acquired the site to the point of being able to move forward on the development. My client tonight has acquired the site. They bought the site back in May of last year. Lynn Zoo is the principal of the ownership group that purchased the site. They're known as, interestingly enough, 797 Shore Drive LLC. So that's the name that you'll see in a lot of the filings that move forward. My name is Ed Fleming. I'm an attorney here in Wallaston, and I do a lot of zoning and permitting work throughout the city. This is what I do. I represent folks before boards in the city seeking municipal permitting for the zoning board of appeals, the planning board, the licensing board, when they seek to build new buildings and they move forward with new projects. This is exciting. This is a great opportunity now to finally do something with this site. 797 Shore Drive and Beachcomber site is about a 1.4 acre site. It's a large site. It's one of the largest sites certainly done on Shore Drive. And right now, outside of the Beachcomber building that sits on the far right of the site is undeveloped. It's become really kind of an eyesore. It's just a dirt pile that really has uncontrolled runoff into the neighborhood and no drainage controls at all. This project, or any project that moves forward, is going to really start to not only redevelop the site, but start to control and make it an amenity for the city, not only for the residents around it, but also for the community that drives by on the Shore Drive on a regular basis. So as I said, Lynn and her group purchased the site back in May. Lynn's group, interestingly enough, experience throughout Massachusetts. They have 2 different restaurants in Massachusetts right now. Her other partners are sitting in the crowd as well, Jeffrey Z and John Wang. They own restaurants called the Fuji Steakhouse in Needham. They also own another facility called Fuji in Bedford and also Bedford, Mass. And those restaurants are what I call high-end restaurants. They're fine dining restaurants. They're not fast food types of facilities. They don't intend to operate a fast food type of facility here. Other than outside of the other operators on the beach, the Clam Box and Tony's, which are great facilities, they're going to be a different kind of building and facility down the beach. They're going to have fine dining where you can go in with your families, you can have a nice meal in a nice dining facility and enjoy the amenities of the beach while you get out on the beach within the facility. When they first purchased the site, the first step was to really determine whether the Beachcomber was a stable building, whether they could actually utilize that building again. And quite frankly, for all of us who drive by that every day, we probably understand and agree that that building is pretty far gone. It's really deteriorated over the years. The McGettricks, although they did a wonderful job running the Beachcomber for the 50-plus years they ran the Beachcomber, the facility really began to fall apart, became deteriorating. And when Mr. McGettrick died a number of years ago, it was difficult for the family to continue to operate that facility, and they closed. So when Lynn and her group looked at the building, they realized that the building was really far too deteriorated for them to renovate. It's also built almost on the property line, as you know, on the right property line. And it's very difficult to renovate and rebuild, certainly for the type of business that they want to run. To do a fine dining, high-end kind of restaurant in that building, it really just didn't work. So they made a determination that this proposal that's going to be presented to you tonight is not going to involve that Beachcomber facility. They're going to remove that facility from the site, and their intent is to build a brand new building. And they're not going to build it where the existing building is, because as I said, it's almost on the property line. It's very difficult at the entrance off Quincy Shore Drive. They're going to move it over to the center of the site as is shown on the plans. Brian Donahue, who's with us tonight, is going to go through the plans for the building in more detail. Claudio Sala from DeSelberg and Sala Engineering is handling all the engineering-related matters on the site. And those plans are somewhat conceptual at this stage, but we're going to go through a very detailed and extensive review as we go through the permitting process in the city. Where not only the city entities are going to review these plans, but they're also going to be reviewed by independent peer review analysis to make sure that the engineering is going to work and that it's done correctly. Claudio can talk a little bit about the planning that's gone into developing a plan at this site at this stage. So the new building, what is it going to be? Well, as you can see, there was a lot of thought and effort on not to build a modern style building on the beach. The goal was to build something that fit into the beach community, that was a beachy feel. Brian spent a lot of time with Lynn and her group trying to come up with different scenarios and different looks that they thought would really fit into the beach style. And Brian can highlight that and talk about that in more detail, but I think, and I hope that you can see on the plan with the pitched roof style and the balconies that face the waterfront, the neighborhood in the back, that it's a really beachy feel building, which is really a nice building that will fit within the community. It's going to be 3 stories in height as shown on the plan, but the 3rd floor is really going to be built into the roof. And the 1st floor, and Brian can talk about this in a lot more detail, is going to be brought up to a level that's going to be on the same grade as Quincy Shore Drive. So when you're walking by the site, as you walk by it now, you look down into the beach on the site because it drops off from the street. So you wouldn't be able to get access to a building on that level. So the site's going to be brought up, or at least the building's going to be brought up to the level of Quincy Shore Drive. So when you walk across from the beach to the restaurant, or when you're walking along Quincy Shore Drive, you'll be able to gain access to the 1st floor of the building. And Brian will talk about the patio that we created right off Quincy Shore Drive, which will be first floor is going to be the main restaurant entrance. You'll walk in, you'll be greeted by a hostess. There'll be a waiting room where you can go and wait for your table upstairs, or you can go to a small sushi bar that will be on that first floor level as well. And then you can go to the second floor with the tables ready, and the second floor, the entire second floor will be for the restaurant. And the function facility, is really intended for private functions, things like weddings, or private parties, or things of that nature. And Brian, again, will talk about that in more detail. In addition to the main entrance of the restaurant on the first floor, the plan is to have two small retail units on either side of the main entrance, on either side of the building. Those retail entrances will be built, the units will be about 1,800 square feet. It'll be utilized probably by an ice cream shop, a pastry store, a coffee shop, some small uses like that. Although Lynn and her group haven't found a user for that building yet because we haven't even gone through the permitting. That's the goal, is to find a retail type user that will be compatible with the restaurant type use. The third floor, which Ryan will talk about in more detail, is planned for 6 residential units. 6, not 14 or 17 that was discussed in the past. I was part of other proposals that were presented to the mayor that wanted to do up to 34 units on that site. And I know there's concern about residential or heavy residential use there. Right now, to be honest with you, there's been so much residential use that when we've discussed residential use of this site with the mayor's thought was, I'd rather see a restaurant stay there, or rather see it be utilized for the commercial purpose that it has been used for the last 50 plus years. So the goal was to have a residential use that could be compatible, believe it or not, with the restaurant use. What do I mean by that? If you have a wedding and you're coming in from out of town, you want to be able to have a wedding facility there, you want to be able to stay in rooms above, then you'll be able to utilize those rooms. That's one idea, one thought on the use of those kind of rooms. The goal is that these rooms be managed by the same entity that's going to operate and own the building and the restaurant, that it can be utilized in that purpose. And these will be nice, that will have access to views open outside off onto the water. Because the water is the amendment that we all want to pay attention to. So that's the overview of the building. We need to go through a number of different permitting steps as we go through the process. The first thing, as Kirsten said, is we have to go to the licensing board to transfer the license from the Beachcomber. Believe it or not, the Beachcomber, or the McKendricks, and their group still own the license that was utilized in the Beachcomber facility. They sold the building and they sold the license to Lynn and her group, but it hasn't yet been physically transferred by the licensing board. So we need to go through a process to request that the license be transferred by the licensing board to Lynn's group. It's going to be transferred to the site that exists today, and then what we'll do is we'll change it when we get if we get the new building permitted, and the license will be applied and utilized with the new restaurant that will be built here. It will be all the licenses that apply. The goal, however, is not to have the same live entertainment that the Beachcomber. This isn't going to be a nightclub in any fashion. It's not going to be a bar or a dance facility. It's going to be a first-class fine dining restaurant with a function facility. So for functions, there might be some need for that entertainment license. So there hasn't been a lot of discussion. He was asking about whether or not there's going to be music played until 1 o'clock in the morning. And as I said, this is not going to be an entertainment facility. We haven't had a lot of discussion about hours of operation. I would assume that hours will be limited before that hour, to be honest with you, by the licensing board for a function. So chances are a function might have to close at 12 o'clock. No, I know, Beachcomber, but it's different. It won't be the same operation. Yeah, there will be a limit here. And that's something, that's a great point, and it'll be something we'll discuss with the licensing board as we go through the process. So in addition to the licensing board, And so once that is, and then what the planning board does is, the planning board sends it out to all of the city departments. All of the city departments review the application, and then independent peer review analysis is done, which means an independent engineer is hired. They review the plans again to make sure that everything's in order. And then, and only then, does the board actually vote on something on that. Okay, and that will be a drawn-out process. There will be a number of hearings. You'll get notice of not only the licensing board hearing, but you'll get like notice of the planning board hearing. So that's that. All right, I'm going to turn this over to Brian, so Brian can kind of walk through the detailed plans. And then what we'll do is we'll open it up to any questions, and then Claudia will answer any questions about drainage and things of that nature. Thank you.
My voice starts to fade a little bit, just tell me to speak up. My name is Brian Donahue. I'm an architect in the city. My office has been here. It's a second generation firm. I've been here for 60 years. I see some familiar faces in the audience. I went to school here. I know the area. I grew up across the bay. It's one. So I've always had a vested interest in Quincy. I don't live in this neighborhood, but I've always tried to steer a project towards something more like this than anything else. Excuse me. So I've been involved with this site in many levels with some unsavory characters who you may have heard about and so forth, but they've always wanted to grow residential units on the site, going back to Beachwood. So I was actually kind of excited when someone came to me and wanted us to design something that was more in keeping with the scale of the neighborhood and something that was more in keeping with what is there present. Now, Beachcomber was a different kind of restaurant. We're not going to be replicating that in any way. It's pardon me?
No, we love it. It's great.
We love it
Okay. So basically, I'm just going to go through the site and what we're proposing, our mindset of designing this project, and then I'll be glad to answer anybody's questions. As you know, the existing Beachcomber sits on the northeast end of the site, and it's certainly in disrepair, as Ed mentioned. It's not really worth salvaging, and I don't really want to in any fashion at all. So we've got basically an acre and a half of land, which has a lot of scrub around the perimeter on the Strand and on Quincy Shore Drive. There's actually along the Strand, there's a rubble concrete retaining wall holding back the earth, and it's really not in very good shape. So the plan from a building site perspective is also not only to put a nice building on the site, but to improve the landscape, improve the site, and screen it sufficiently from any neighboring abutters. So I'm sure you're all from the neighborhood, you're all familiar with the site, and you're all familiar with the building. What our plan is to put the new structure in the middle of the site facing the ocean. So all the orientations, if you look at any of the sketches, the glass windows are openings facing the water. Nothing is really facing towards the back of the neighborhood. We're working right now, this is the existing curb cut that brings you onto the site in front of the Beachcomber. And what our plan is to have a second one, which would be an egress only out of the other end of the site. We have to work with DCR on that. That's not something that the city gets involved in per se. So that is not, etched in stone by any stretch. So it may turn out to be that we have one way in and out, and we have to negotiate on the site and move back. But at this point, we think it's better for everything in terms of site circulation, traffic flow, and so forth, for us to have it in and out and turn right only. So again, the building is now been situated in the middle. It's a little under 8,000 square foot footprint, which is about less than a quarter of the land area of the site. And it is 3 stories, or 2.5 as I like to call it, because that third story is built into the roof, as you can see from the ground. So we've also got some site improvements on the courtyard, which I'm calling the courtyard facing the beach. And that will be a nice area for sitting. It'll be landscaped very well, and it'll give a softening effect to the building itself. And then obviously around the perimeter, there'll be a wall here because of a grade, a small retaining wall and a fence on top of that with landscape. So it's going to be a pretty solid buffer between the site itself and the neighbors. I know people get concerned about headlights and cars and things like that, especially the Mr. Yakubian who lives next door. So this is going to be a privacy fence with a heavy landscape separating it from this side. So again, we have an 8,000 square foot footprint, and we have 88 parking spaces, which is about 20 more than we actually need when we do the calculations for the uses that we're proposing. So we've got ample parking, we feel, and hopefully the users of this building will maintain the parking on the site and not create issues with parking across the street.
How high is that fence?
Which fence?
The fence that would be
6 feet. I won't bore you with a lot of details. I'll just run through the plan itself. As you can see, it's sort of segmented into 3 parts. At each end of the building, we've got a 1,800 square foot retail space. And in the center is the entry to the restaurant. So you come in with a reception area, waiting area, and a small sushi bar if you're waiting in that area and want to get a drink or something. The rest of the floor is backup spaces, toilet rooms, and mechanical space. And there's an elevator that takes you up to the next level, which is the main restaurant. And there's also a stair that goes up. So we're thinking of sort of really nice, open, airy spaces with a lot of light coming in from the east. On the second level is our main dining area and restaurant. And this is about, including the function room, which is, would seat about 50 to 60 people. It's about 170 to 180 seats. There's a main dining room, which you come up to when you get up to the stair, and there's a bar with some seating around it on the south side. There's also built into the plan some exterior decks, which again are relatively small in nature and facing the ocean. And that's pretty much it. Again, backup spaces, kitchen, and it's fairly solid towards the rear on this part of the building. So most of the exposure is towards the street side. And then we've got the 6 units that Ed was talking about on the top level, averaging about 700 square feet. And then part of this top level is a small office space for the restaurant staff. The renderings that I have really speak to the architecture and the fact that we're trying to make this look very, beachy, I guess is the word, and very similar in style and detail to your average homes in the area. And obviously, it's a little bit larger, but we're trying to keep the scale down by having this top level built into the roof, so there's some dormers and so forth that make those spaces livable. And then we've got a small sort of lightless element up here, basically an architectural element. The siding would be clapboards and shingles and a lot of glass facing the ocean and possibly a metal roof, which would make it feel very light.
Where is the function room?
Function room is here on the second floor.
So if you have seating for 50 in the dining area and you have 50 in the function room, how do you account for the cars in the car?
Again, when you go to the bylaws and you go to any design criteria, especially specifically in Quincy for this project, the parking spaces that we provided on the site are sufficient to handle 290-seat restaurant, plus the retail space, plus the living space. So we've got 88 spaces, which more than covers the requirement for the bylaw.
Yeah, you're not accounting for your walking space or restaurant shop either.
Yeah, accounted for that. It's 3,600 square feet. By the steepest criteria in the bylaw, it's one space for every 500 square feet.
I am too. Is you look at Tony's when they get packed, the entire neighborhood's packed with cars. You go another 250 cars, you're not fitting them all in there. They can park the whole neighborhood behind it. And she said you have 180 people in your dining room and another 50 in your function room.
Right.
And then you also have 2 retail shops as well.
Right. So what I said was that the parking requirements are satisfied.
I understand you need Quincy's parking requirements, but I don't think that's going to meet
residential.
You're residential, you have function, you have restaurant.
We anticipate parking demands for the different uses of the building to be different times. You know, the ice cream shops and things of that nature will be used at different times, not necessarily the exact same time as the parking is going to be utilized by the restaurant. So, in addition to that, though, we have zoning requirements, okay? And the zoning requirements, we're required to meet those zoning requirements as we go through the process. So we'll go through that detailed zoning analysis with the city to ensure that we meet and satisfy the zoning criteria. But it's,
one of the problems is since they did Wallace Beach over, they took out a lot of spots. So the streets are not, the cars are not coming down Rice Road. So as the water gets cleaner, more people to swim down there, I don't want all the traffic in my neighborhood. And even when the Beachcomber was there was more spots, and you couldn't get a spot on Wollaston Beach because if the Beachcomber had something going on, there was no parking. And now they've eliminated a lot more spots since they did Wollaston Beach over.
Yeah. You're talking on my street.
You used to go in and park straight, now it's diagonal, so you've lost the different spots.
Now, the zoning, wasn't it
It's too
zoning?
much, too big, way too big.
so let's just talk about
I
that.
said lie about everything.
One of the things that we talked about was different proposals that had come around in the past. And just to highlight, you know, one of the things, in fact, I can remember about 10 years ago, I worked with Mr. McEtrick on the development of the site. He was ready to sell the Beachcomber before he got ill, and he was going to develop the site. He had a plan for 17 or 19 townhouses across the site. He was going to develop the entire site. And I'm just saying that as an example, because then all the other proposals that came back to the city, and Brian and I worked on a lot of them.
There were single houses, and then you could accommodate for cars, but you're talking about a lot of businesses going in there. Where are the cars going? You know, we've seen it in Wollaston, that you can't even get through there. We're going to jam up Wollaston Beach too.
On a beautiful night in July, that entire Beachcomber parking lot would be filled with cars when the Beachcomber has been gone for several years. And people coming down the side streets looking for parking as well.
And I don't quite get the footprint either. I mean, when you're redoing a house in Quincy, I believe you have to stay on the same footprint. Now, how does that get to be changed because it's a business?
Right, that's enough.
Right?
You can build on the same footprint without getting zoning relief, but we have to go through permitting to actually get permission to build this new building. So that's what I said at the very beginning of this process. We have to go through a process of approval from the city as part of this new plan. So yeah, if we wanted to simply rebuild on the existing footprint of the Beachcomber on the far corner, you're right, we could do it as of right, we wouldn't even have to be here. We could do it as of right and put a new restaurant in, but that's not what they would prefer to do. They would prefer to move forward on this plan because they think it's a better plan for the site.
But we would prefer they don't.
Sir?
No, not really. This is for you.
Is there going to be a menu there and seating for the restaurant or any of those other places? Or is that going to be open to the public?
There's not, I don't think there's going to be, there's no intended service on the patio for the restaurant, but they do have a deck on the second floor that they will have exterior seating. But that will be primarily for the restaurant. The patio in the front is really for utilization of the building. If you're going to go into the restaurant or you're going to use the retail, that you'll go in and you'll be able to utilize the patio. It's not really to hang around. Yes, but it's public access. Yes, absolutely.
How much higher is the building going to be from the original structure?
Not sure how tall the original structure is.
The original structure, barely 12 to 15 feet high.
If you're saying it's if you're saying it's 2.5 stories, including the third floor being
40 feet to the
but you're raising it up, does that make it?
Actually, the first level is at the sidewalk. First level
But
is
that's-
at the sidewalk.
Yeah,
So that, and that's the retail and entry.
But how much are you bringing that
And
up?
then there's another full story, and then a half story where the units are.
What
Can
does
you tell us
this
a little
do?
bit about the construction of it? So I think it's important for us to understand. So the building is going to be at street level. So is it your intent that the parking is going to be at a lower elevation, or is that going to be at the same level as the building? And if it's at a lower elevation, I know it's going to come up when it goes to planning and zoning and the peer review and all that, but so one of the things that I think a lot of people are concerned about is the environmental issues from a water perspective. So I guess we're trying to figure out is the elevation of the parking lower than the restaurant on the
It will
street?
be similar to what it is now, but it'll be paid.
It's going to be paved or it'll be permeable?
Can't pay for it.
The plan is, it is quite a site.
What does this,
It'll be raised a little bit higher, I think, at the end of the day, and the existing parking is not going to be as high as 50-foot drive. So the site will drop off, similar to as it does now, but it will be a little bit higher because it allows, and Claudia will talk about this, for the installation of drainage control measures within the parking lot to actually control runoff from the
Can you
site.
explain those a little bit, because I think people need to understand what those are. I'm a little bit familiar with them, so they're basically containments, right?
Claudia, you want to talk about that? Claudia was talking about Jim Burke, who's actually handling this matter. He's from the same office.
So basically, right now, you all know the site basically has no storm controls at all. All the runoff runs off the site, probably onto the strand.
Yeah, when you flood.
Well,
Yeah,
so
it's no joke.
No existing, he's saying there are no existing control measures at all on the site, which means the water just runs off the site right now.
It won't run up the site. You said you're gonna go behind there and dig up that old wall.
Right, but we need
Try
to
and fix the
So
bad.
if Claudia could just talk about
Rats
it.
and flooding.
So at the moment, there is a small 2-foot maybe retaining wall along the strand. A lot of it's been torn
All the
down.
rats are in there.
Uh,
No, I'm not serious, you guys are laughing.
So basically, the site will be regraded and raised slightly. There will be another probably 2-foot maybe retaining wall built, a new one.
How much are you raising it?
I'm sorry?
How much are you raising it? Great.
I think at the back at the strand, it may be almost at grade. There's a 2-foot wall, so it'll probably stay there, and then maybe the parking will be a little higher than that at the lower level. That allows us to grade the parking so that it does not flow over onto the strand, so that there will be catch basins in the parking lot that will then capture the runoff, even pollutants from the cars, which now just go into the ground.
So if we have another storm in there, you're going to make it worse.
Yeah.
Saying if we have another storm like we had this past winter, under your proposal, it seems like you couldn't make it worse, it would make it better for us.
You can't make it work.
Can't
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
By the calculations and all the studies and analysis that goes forward, it cannot make it worse, or the planning board will not approve it.
So we have catch basins throughout the parking area.
Does it go?
The catch basins will have sumps, so they will collect oil and gas. Then it will go into a chamber that basically takes out suspended solids, sand, things like that. And then it will flow into these underground chambers under the parking lot. They're called Cultex. They're dome-shaped, made out of polymer, and they're hollow, basically. Underneath those, there's 12 to 15 inches of crushed stone, and there's crushed stone all around them and over them. So their storage capacity is basically putting storage tanks underground. However, because it's all pervious underneath, the water will be allowed to percolate into the soil. So during a heavy storm event, catch basins will catch the runoff, and it will be stored in these underground chambers, and then slowly, as the percolation rate allows, into the ground. So it will not flow continuously into this fan. So the runoff off-site compared to the present condition will reduce for all storm events that we calculate 2, 5, 10, 25, 100%.
Is this somewhere in the city that you're aware of? I know they were proposed up at Butler Pond.
They're in every development project that you see, essentially. And what happens is, so Claudio's group, his team will put together the calculations. They'll file a stormwater management report that will have all of the calculations that are associated with these drainage control measures. That will be reviewed by the city's DPW department. They'll comment on the plans. Revisions will be made to those calculations and those in the sizes of the chambers if necessary. And then it goes, as I said, into an independent engineer. We'll again review the same thing, comment on it all over again. And the goal is to make sure they work. And what that means is that we cannot, by this development, create any more problems for you than you have today. We have to be able to show with certainty from all the calculations that we present that we will deal with the water flow on the site.
All right, what about the storage? Because I've lived here for 60 years and I had storage back up in my cellar and all the surrounding on Walking Street had storage backing up in their cellar because of the poor draining of the storage. Now you're going to put all the stuff up on the Beachcomber and what's going to happen is overloading the storage.
So the DPW department, again, we have to do a utility plan. That's one of the plans that will be filed. Well, that's
like the Strand.
That's an analysis that has to happen, and the DPW department has to be satisfied that we're not going to cause more
They
problems.
didn't live like I did.
Wait a minute, there's a lot of things, and I'm in a position that I know some of the stuff that's involved in some of these developments. So I was irritated as everybody else about some of the things, but some of the things we need to think about. So when they do these developments, there's an analysis of the sewerage system and how much people can handle. There's calculations that they do to say what the capacity is going to be. If it puts too much strain on our sewerage system and our drainage system, they're required to upgrade. It's happened in a number of projects throughout the city. If you look at some of the stuff on Hancock Street and other places, those developers were required to help to mitigate the additional strain on the system.
A good example.
Let me finish. One good thing that could happen for us, I don't know, I don't know how to do calculations, I don't know how to figure all that out, but I do know that if they determine that it's too much strain to put on our system for what's being added, then there's gonna be a requirement to mitigate it, to increase it to sufficiently support whatever flows in the beach there.
Well, they had a study on Station Street, $500,000 to spend that.
Yes.
It came in time to Station Street still like that. My other question is, who sits on these boards? The license, the zoning, planning, and who picks the members that sit on them?
Mayor Coke.
How many members are on each board?
Well, the licensing board consists of the city clerk, the director of inspectional services, Jay Duca, the fire chief, the police chief, who else? The health commissioner, and all of those. So they're all members of our governing body. The mayor appoints the boards, the planning board, the zoning board of appeals.
I wonder what their background is in these studies.
Well, see, that's why. So that's a great point, though. The boards themselves might not have the level of expertise, but they rely on their experts to do the analysis and review. And they don't vote on these projects until their experts have told them that they work. So they rely on it. It's good.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, so these folks are required to also pay for a separate review. It's called peer review. And when we talk about peer review, it's not the mayor's people that do it. It's not these folks that do it. It's a third party that comes in and it's called independent peer review. They come in and independently review these plans and these specifications and give a recommendation to the planning board and the zoning board as to what they think is appropriate and what they think meets the ordinances, what they think of the plan itself. So there's not just two sides. there's a third-party independent peer review that these folks pay for. The city doesn't pay for them, and they don't. These folks pay for them.
At what point do they come in the peer review?
It's always in
The day we
every
file.
project, and it comes before when the planning board, when they go before the board.
So the planning, there's only been a licensing.
Licensing doesn't have a peer review.
Planning board would be the main filing that we make. And the planning board, when we file the application, they make us pay for it. So Lynn's group will pay $5,000 right off the top.
And she can choose who she wants.
No.
No,
The city
no.
chooses who they will.
The city chooses
It's
independent
so that the city,
reviewers.
and the city did that because they wanted that extra pair of eyes looking at these projects. Because look at the development that's happening in the city. The city
pays for it.
The city requires that Lynn pay for it.
So the city is the mayor.
Oh. The planning board makes Lynn pay for it. All these peer review engineers that have been commenting at these applications throughout the city have never been paid $1 by the city. They're being paid by all the developers that are proposing these projects.
In my world, this was called the appeal to the higher authority. I believe, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're assuming we're all just going to go away.
Yeah.
I don't think that'll happen, because I've seen some of the things that happen at the planning board meetings, as council will remind some of you, that things do not automatically get processed unless you listen to the feedback and take some notes. That would be helpful. I don't see anybody taking any notes.
If we thought that you weren't important by this process.
The cameraman. But that's not for them.
Nope, no, I'm here protecting the people.
I'd like to ask Kirsten, how do you feel about this?
Well,
She doesn't live in the neighborhood.
They look like Republicans. We know how you feel.
you know, I think a restaurant use there is not a bad thing. I think that's good. I don't love the residential aspect of it. I've talked about this with
Would you want to be in the neighborhood with this problem?
Right.
I think there was a restaurant, there was a bar and a nightclub there before.
But it wasn't moved into the center.
Okay,
And when
there you go.
I got rats after he built that house, after I fought for not to have the house across the street when he built.
No, I know, I remember
rats
Dolores.
now and mice.
Yeah.
Who's gonna come to my house and get the mice?
I also think Lynn has
It
purchased
doesn't
the site and
matter
we.
what the Beachcomber was. How would you
Because of the
feel
dig.
about this in your neighborhood?
I don't know, I don't think it looks aesthetically unpleasing.
It's not unpleasing, but it's curious.
It's been, well, she's asking me what I think. I'm trying to give you my answer, and you gotta be kidding. I'm trying to answer. What I think is aesthetically, it's not unpleasing. I don't like the residential component of it. I've said that to these folks before. I don't like that. I think it should be a restaurant, and if they wanted you retail on the bottom, fine. I'm not a fan of residential at that area. That's the way I think about it.
Sir?
Can you talk a little bit about the residential aspect of it? We do want to support a restaurant. I think if it's a restaurant done properly, would be welcomed by the neighborhood. I think you kind of threw it being in the middle of the parking lot, which we all thought was a flood zone, and the Hendricks couldn't pave it for many years because it was in a flood zone. But I think a restaurant would be welcomed, but residential, as Kirsten said, I don't think we need it. We want it. Can you discuss that a little bit more? Is it going to be a hotel? Is it going to be condos? Is it going to be apartments? What are they going to be?
Yeah, I think it's 6 units, and the goal is to treat them as like a condominium style. So there'll be independent units, condominium style units. The goal in the plan was not to sell them. It wasn't really even to rent them long term. The goal was to maybe utilize them in conjunction with the function facility that they have. So if folks are coming for, as I said, as I give an example, they're coming to the area for a vacation, they're spending a month in the area, and they want a furnished apartment or a furnished unit in an area like this where they could be on the beach, they could be near a restaurant, that they would be able to utilize that as like almost like a short-term stay. If they're having a wedding function there and they're bringing in a family and they want to be able to utilize these facilities for a short-term stay. That was the idea. The mayor, as I said to you before, and I'm being honest with you, I've had many meetings with the mayor. The mayor said when we presented presented any kind of residential component here, he didn't like it. He didn't think that this site should be utilized for residential use, period. Now, so if his position is that these residential units not be included in the proposal, and there's concern among the body here, the neighbors, then Lynn will have to reconsider that with her group. But right now, it's to utilize it for that short-term kind of stay in 6 units, to be managed by the restaurant owner and operator. So that won't be an independent user, hotel, or things of that nature. That was the idea.
My compliments to the architect, Lenny. When I first saw that lower left, I thought it was President City Hotel. If you look at it, the lower left.
And it's beautiful, isn't it, the President City Hotel?
And where's the
Well, Brian
dumpster
designed
gonna
that
go?
too.
Well, where's the dumpster gonna
It's
go?
not a hotel, this is.
Do you have the dumpster?
That's right near my house and his house. We don't want the dumpster.
It's right under the
Away
facility.
from your house.
Huh?
300 feet away from your house.
That's,
Back here.
where it is now, the people in the back get rats.
Well, let's have a vote before the Concom.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it needs conservation commission.
It also needs, that's a great point, it also needs conservation commission.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry.
All right, sorry.
Your turn.
There's some folks, big hands up over here. Marla.
Question on that.
What are the teachers?
I'm one of the 3 owners on Strand. And I bought 15 the Strand in October 2012. And I roofed it. And I knew this would come up, so I specifically went to City Hall and said, what is the Beachcomber zone for? And it said 1 story. Now, I have a roof deck that looks out on the water, and you're telling me I put a 40-foot.
But the beach cover will be gone and your view will be unobstructed.
Well, do you have
Well, my view's
anything showing?
constructed, how's that?
You're 15 the Strand, you're here.
You're right there.
That's not the point.
Your view is
Your view is completely unobstructed.
Yeah, but what about my view? You don't care?
Your deck.
What
I
about
did the plans for your house.
19?
Your deck, here is straight out.
This is 19 Strand.
This is the marsh, this is the marsh.
All right, okay.
This is the
You
Phragmites.
can say that.
This is the Phragmites, the marsh area.
Somebody over there.
19 the Strand is here. You're over here.
I can see him right now. I don't know if I
Well,
will.
you're not gonna, you'll see the unbetter.
And where's 59 the Strand?
This gentleman had his hand
Like
up.
a block before.
And then he can go first and then you, he was waiting a while.
Can you talk to the issue of the ground lease with DCR, the conditions within that lease? Are they being met? Are they being negotiated? What happens?
We haven't
I
had
find it puzzling that nobody brought that up.
DCR, we haven't spoken with DCR at all. That, the only time.
This is on leased property, why wouldn't you?
Oh, the user on the site right now? You're talking about the user on the site right now?
I mean,
I think
The construction vehicles that are there now?
it's just a loading site.
Oh, yeah, there's
Just
a private contractor approached the
I don't care
owners.
about that, I'm saying the conditions of the lease allow you to do whatever you want to do.
Oh, this is owned by the scale. But Lynn and her group purchased this property, they own this property. DCR DCR didn't own the property. DCR controls Quincy Shore Drive.
And
They
across the
control Quincy Shore Drive. They don't
own the property.
DCR doesn't own this property. They
No.
never did, no. This is privately owned by the McGettrick family. The only dealing that we'll have with DCR is whether or not they'll allow a second curb cut from the site.
They have trucks going in there every day at 6:30, waking me up in the morning.
Was there somebody else with their hands up? This gentleman here.
Is there any other way that this could be done to make it shorter?
Yeah.
The fact is that it's a very tall building, very
They must be expecting a lot
Go
of
to the third floor.
too high.
Well, I'm sure they're.
Take the third floor.
I have one question.
Wait.
Are you gonna put them in the paper? Are we gonna be told when these meetings are gonna happen, so there is a presence?
Direct.
We can't rely on this.
Direct to butter. So direct to butters. That's
These
good.
meetings are gonna take place so the people of Quincy can be at these meetings?
There will be all notices before the planning board, through the planning board and the licensing board, the zoning board.
Are they gonna be in the Quincy Patriot Ledger, these meetings?
First of all, let me just explain what the notice requirement is. The notice requirement requires that we notify abutters within 300 feet of the site. So those will be the folks that will get an actual paper notice in the mail, okay, from us, or from the boards. There will be, no, hear me out. There will be plenty of publicity on this. I guarantee you that this will be in the Quincy Sun, that this will be in the Ledger, that all the meetings you'll get notice of these meetings, you'll hear about these meetings, you'll read about these meetings, and you'll have an opportunity to
Is
participate.
this going up to
This
the
looks like a
environmental?
done deal because
It's
they're
not a done
already
deal.
grading
Yeah, no
the
kidding.
lot. They've already.
No, they're not. No, see, I want to
They're
address
doing
that.
something.
No, I want to address that. No, I want to address that. Lynn and her group were approached by a private contractor for staging for works that's being done in the city of Quincy. And they
But how
asked,
they contacted me?
they asked to use that site to stage in there to do work in the city. I think they're doing sewer or rehabilitation.
It's down on Marymount.
So they're doing some work at Marymount. It has nothing to do with us. We're not grading, we're not doing.
They're not grading the site.
We're not doing, we haven't.
And they haven't filed anything. There's nothing done because they haven't filed anything.
But I got just a quick question.
Yeah.
I'm not really, concept sounds good to me, I'm not opposed to the building itself. Now, we're talking about shifting the building from the original site and moving it over. What are we gonna do about the environment that's been there for 55 years, that has never been disrupted? Now we're gonna go in there and do construction. We know what's happening up in Walls with the construction of the racks and everything. What are you gonna do prior to the construction, to do anything, road control, to protect the
That's
residents?
all I got wrapped over.
It's a great question.
What?
One of the files that we put is the health department as we go through the process, if the boards were to approve this matter, okay, they'd approve it with conditions that need to be met. And one of the conditions that needs to be met is addressing all of the letters that have been issued by all of the departments. And the health department would require that there be a pre-construction survey done of the site, that there be road control measures implemented before construction takes place, and that be maintained and dealt with during the course of construction. So that's a great point. There's a lot of protections for the community as the process moves forward by the decisions of the bodies, of the
Growing
boards.
up, I mean, my relatives, I used to live in the area there, that used to be known as Rat Alley.
Yeah, that's
Old
real.
times, what
They're gonna disrupt it.
And all I'm saying is, as the owner, just make sure that prior to anything that they do, you got to protect houses. We already know that they're creeping down.
Is this going in environmental? They're not gonna cut any trees down. now, right?
So there'll be a road control plan that will be implemented, as well as a construction management plan to deal with all construction-related issues.
Are they cutting any trees?
Vehicle traffic. It seems to me with the parking lot for the car, they're going to be coming, number one. Number two, how are we going to police who's coming in to go to the restaurant and who's coming in just to connect cars?
Well, that, policing the parking lot will be the responsibility of the ownership, because they want to make sure they have enough parking for the restaurant business and the businesses there. With regard to traffic management and to and from the site, there will be a requirement that we have a traffic analysis done by a professional traffic engineer to make sure that people pulling into and out of the site can do so safely. Right now, it's pretty tough. I mean, you drop down, that drops down very dramatically, and you're pulling up onto that site. This is going to be regraded, so it will be easier to get in and out.
It's seawall improvement.
Seawall.
Yeah, see, I'm getting cracks in my house because
it might be DCR work.
Who's going to pay for the shifting of my house when I build?
Sorry. No, they won't. There's a construction management plan that will have a timetable that they'll have to meet. So they won't be able, they'll have to move forward through that timetable, or they will be fined or move along. So it won't be a construction site forever. And we apologize for the existing conditions right now, but I mean, what happened was Lynn was approached by this private contractor who was doing some work for DCI, and they needed an area to be able to stage to do work on the seawall down the street in Marymount. So she agreed to allow them to utilize the site because they were in the process of going.
Waking up people in the morning, did you?
Can I just ask about the tree? Will you be removing all of the existing trees that line the Strand?
No. So this symbol right here.
Yep.
It represents existing trees.
Okay.
And they're throughout the site.
Great. Thank you.
You can't touch the tree.
None of the
And I want to know one thing.
Dr. Yukubi hasn't had a chance to talk
These
yet.
folks, when they start building and I get cracks in my walls, who's going to fix the foundation and shift in my pool? Because that happened twice when they built in front and in back.
Again, there's all these pre-construction.
They're going to have to come to my house and look.
Dr. Yukubi.
This gentleman had a question. No.
I think Mr.
Have
Donovan
you
said
met your
that.
new neighbor, Dr. Yukubi?
Listen, if you ever want I don't like the coming out of here. The traffic that goes up and down the boulevard is terrible. I mean, they're drag racing, never mind the motorcycles, but it's going on day and nighttime. And I realize the police are there, state police are there, but that's not a place to have an egress
from here. That one entrance would be fine. My neighbors on the Strand park their cars, there's 5 or 6 of them that park their cars on this side. It's off the way, it's off the street, and it would be nice if the people that are going to put in the restaurant would take care of them. There's 3 houses there.
That's mine.
And they're lovely people, and they deserve a break. My other thing, I'm just going fast because I know everybody wants to talk. I'm against the condominiums going in here. I think it's that was the reason they couldn't sell the property, is that nobody could make money on that land making single-family houses. The most you could do was 3, and they said you're really only probably going to get 2 houses built in there. And I have no problem with the restaurant. I have no problem, although there's some things I'd like to see change, but that comes down the road. But
they didn't let you pave. They didn't let you pave.
Oh, I can't pave, so I'd like to. One of my neighbors called up and said, "Who does he think he is that he paved it?" I paved my driveway so the dirt wouldn't run off into the street and it wouldn't be tracked into the house while the contractors were working on it. I removed it and put stones in there. My neighbor brought to my attention that those stones are going to get thrown all over the place when somebody comes to snow blow the driveway. But I'm doing the best I can to conform to what the rules are. But if they get I'm against the condominiums, and if they get approval for the restaurant, I think there should be a 20-year moratorium on any condominiums going on there. Because they might say in 2 years, we're not doing the business we expected to do, we're going to turn it over to condominiums. And I think there should be a rule somewhere written down that would prohibit them doing it the next year, putting condominiums in, because that's the backdoor way of getting that land to make it acceptable. I got other things here, but you folks...
Dumpster.
Oh, the dumpster. The dumpster is going to go in over here. I live over here. Mr. Donahue said that I'm far enough away, but I just don't want the smell. I deliver milk, and every time I go near it, I deliver early in the morning,
every day.
and people coming by with BFI trucks, and that smell, especially in the summertime. So somewhere to alleviate that problem or something like that. But that's only me, and thank you all for coming, because I think they realize it's going to be more here.
Rats can travel 300.
This gentleman had a question, this guy had a question.
Yeah, Alan touched on it a little bit about the egress, and I think Mr. Donahue said that the egress is not set in stone to be there. I just want to make sure if everything's going forward and that ends up not being able to be done, it's just going to have to be an in and out. Nothing will go back into the neighborhood as an egress.
No egress on the street. Would either, this opening would be widened a little bit, and people would just have to move back out.
But
This doesn't happen. This doesn't happen.
Down there, I said for them not to come out the square when you were doing that two-decker thing. And you blocking the street when they're coming out the square. So somebody lied to me there.
I don't think we got that.
The devil house.
Go along with that, is there been any plans that you know aware of that fix the drainage on the Strand if we could put?
So, I think it was 1995, the city did the Strand project.
The west is
They have the pump house.
And not house failed.
There's a drain right there.
Yes.
Failed in March.
Yes, the pump house failed, and that's why we can't have all this.
And I might say, when the rains came, that parking lot was Sailor's Home Pond. If there were any cops or goldfish in there, I would have gone fishing.
Yeah, but his property saved us from flooding.
And one of the big deals is not to have water. My neighbors, when the street flooded, there was close to 3 feet of water in the streets down
Never
there.
had that in 60 years.
And they parked their cars to get out of the water in my driveway, which is fine, and they're welcome to do it now. But this consideration, that amount of water in a heavy rainstorm, the engineers are going to have to figure out how much, and then when they dig down, what are they going to disrupt that might cause a problem down the road? But like you said, they'll come back and fix it.
Well, they
You know,
have.
there's a sewer line, did you know about that sewer line that goes from the Strand out to the beach? You don't know about that?
Yeah, it's in there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Piping for
What are you gonna do with that?
We're not gonna build on it. It's gonna be there, it's in the ground.
Yeah, but you're gonna disturb it.
No, we're not.
The rats live there
Building's all
too.
here. It's been so.
So just to answer your question about all that kind of analysis, you know, the testing of the soil, the water table, all that analysis has to go into their report, and then it's going to be reviewed by the city. We can't stop the ocean, right? So when there's major storms, there's going to be flooding in places that it's going to flood. But the goal is to deal with the water that we can deal with on the site, so that we're not disrupting things further, so that we're not causing Dr. Yakubian or any other neighbor any further problems that they have to date.
Yeah,
So
but if you take
all
all
that
that
detailed
stuff,
analysis.
it's down
I
there.
address the rats, I know a lot of people are worried about it. I honestly think you're also with the rat problem. I live at 15 Strand, set directly behind the beach now. You have a vacant, empty building that's completely run down, holes all in it. The rodents run in and out of it all day long.
Right.
They're going to remove that building altogether. They're going to landscape all that land. I think this helps with rat problem. This is significant to help. So I like the proposal as far as that goes, because I see raccoons, rats all day long running at the beach.
She's gonna skunk
I think
you
it's going to
down
help.
there.
I think it's going to help us puddle in the water.
Such as some mention of where are you putting all the snow?
No, like the rats when they were people were still going.
That are still part of that.
And in many cases, it will be.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know.
Any lot that's this size, typically on one of those 100-year storm snow events, they come in and they take it. They check it.
I just have a question. It's a big building. Is the intent that it's a functional facility that happens to have a restaurant? Or is it, I mean, on the second floor, is it a restaurant that has a function? Or are you expecting 52 weeks a year or some significant number of weeks there's going to be like a way for a big function happening here? Like, what's the plan?
I think the plan is to have a fine dining restaurant with a functional facility that will have the ability to have weddings and things like that during certain times of the year. It won't be a 52-week functional facility. It will be a restaurant. That's all. And I would recommend to people that you look at the restaurants that Jackie and John are operating now, because they have websites and you can look at their restaurants. And that's the fine dining that they want to bring here. And as I mentioned, the Fuji Steakhouse and the Blue.
So if you kept it as a restaurant, you could put it basically right where the beach is.
That building's going to fall down.
Another concern I had was signage for the restaurant, and are they going to be able to get the MDC to put a stoplight maybe at the entrance and move the one that's in front of the clam box from there, or something like that?
To get DCR to do anything, Doctor, it's like
it's
pulling
amazing.
teeth, you know?
I know.
No pun intended, right?
Thank you.
Right now the sign is in this location. It will likely be moved probably to this location here. It will not go on this side of the site. It will stay in this area. But I think right here, possibly where the Beachcomber sign presently exists, might be a location as well.
Attorney Flynn, quick question. Will you promise there will not be a Dunkin' Donuts in one of those things?
Or Starbucks.
Because there cannot be a drive-through there, okay?
There's no drive-through.
But I mean, it's, you know, I think you really got to like tone this project down. This is too dense. You know, pick either you want to go residential or go commercial. You can't do both.
We're doing an 8,000 square foot footprint on a 1.4 acre site.
But there's too many variables. If you allow this to happen, we don't know what's going to happen in those other restaurants. We don't know what's going to happen with those rooms. You know, you're opening up a can of worms, and it is in a 11-foot AE flood zone. And so the flooding, by raising that up, all you're gonna be doing, you are gonna be pushing that poor water, or the water to these poor people's houses. I mean, those Caltech chambers, honestly, do not work that well in the flood zone.
That's right.
So,
That's right. My house never got flooded.
I like the idea of the restaurant. Do away with residential, do away with retail, and concentrate on antiques to fine dining. What's that? Fine dining. I know what fine dining is, but what type of food?
It's going to be similar to their restaurants right now. It's
Yeah.
Fuji Steakhouse and the Bluefin. So it'll be I don't know that they have a menu detail, but I mean there'll be seafood options, steak, sushi, as well as other traditional Chinese.
Could we bus everybody here, bus everybody over to the restaurant?
The bus?
Bus all these people.
We hear you on the residents.
My thought is all over the city, we have open storefronts that nobody is in their eyes. So if we had a restaurant, just a freestanding restaurant, I think people will come. It sounds like they're doing a nice job adding a benefit to the city, but to add, residential, I don't support that. And also, in some regards, I feel like if we put two little storefronts, it's going to look like a strip mall. Now, I know it's beautiful, but if those are empty, it's going to be another eyesore to Quincy. And right now, over on Marina Bay, it's gorgeous, but there's people not on that first floor in that beautiful area. So I just think if we had a restaurant, that would be attractive to them. The other thing is, my concern is right now, where Tony's is, people are going to Tony's and parking there. It just about stops on Quincy Drive. You're driving along and people are trying to turn and you're stopped. So that's just something of concern to me. If you have that many people going to your facility, how we're going to control the traffic.
Can you just go back to the retail for a second, because it asked the question, do they intend to operate the retail spaces themselves or lease them out to other people?
We try to operate ourselves, if not, we visit one or two spaces.
And do you have retail in your other places?
We don't at this moment. We maybe have some people interested in have some film going on. It's like office kind of retail.
There might be uses that will be more compatible with the restaurant in that they use the facilities during the day and then they're not utilizing the parking. That's what I had mentioned before, is that we have the ability, because they own the whole building and they control the retail, that they can pick and choose the retail uses that they think are going to be compatible with the use. Their main goal here is to operate a fine dining restaurant. We talked about that. At the end of the day, the retail is just an extra ancillary component. I think that's a benefit to have for the community and also for them as a tenant.
But the three retails that were mentioned were pastries,
I
coffee.
mentioned those. I probably shouldn't have even mentioned any kind of retails because I think they're going to open it up once they have that.
We have a beautiful new cafe down the street that has coffee and ice cream. We have the Baja box that has ice cream. For that to take away from those businesses and something that is right there, there's no need for additional. We have enough ice cream on the beach.
We have enough everything on the beach.
So, for the parking lot, how are they exiting the parking lot? Is it still just going to be one exit onto Wallaston Beach? Or now are you opening up two ends to exit both to make the congestion on Wallaston Beach that much?
We cannot open that. This does not exist today. We can't open that unless DCR approves that.
And where is that?
So this is the existing entrance for the Beachcomber. The Beachcomber building is right here. That's the existing Beachcomber entrance. Right now it's a two-way. We were proposing to have an exit on the other end of the parking lot.
Where are you facing? To the beach?
No, exiting and taking a right. So that these cars would have to leave and take a right. DCR may not approve this. DCR is a very difficult agency to work with. They don't necessarily want additional curb cuts along the beach. And they may say, no, you can't have another curb cut on the beach, and then we're gonna have to utilize this one curb cut. And so and Dr. Yacoub's expressed a concern about this as well. So we're taking these notes, and we're gonna think about whether or not we even want to utilize it.
And move the dumpster.
Maybe we'll remove that.
One last question. You mentioned that they have two other restaurants. I'm just curious, are those restaurants in a business setting, or are they in a residential neighborhood like this?
Move the dumpster.
One of the restaurant is a neighborhood, also in commercial misuse.
But you're not in a neighborhood, so I think you really need to listen to the neighbors here. This is your first time into the neighborhood. And it's very important for us that you become a good neighbor. And the best way to do that is to start off, maybe think about getting rid of the residential. I'm even thinking maybe you might think about commercial. I know it's about economics and all that. At the end of the day, we all have to live here.
But it's a residential zone, right? But yet, nobody wants residential. And you say, I think it's interesting because you say it's residential, but yet there's all businesses along this strip. We have the Clam Box, we have Tony's, we have the cafe you talked about, we have, I mean, come on. It's residential in the rear, we understand that. That's why there's no intention of going into the residential. Stay away, stay on Quincy Shore Drive, which is a busy, very busy thoroughfare. It's been used as a business property for years. We've gone to the mayor 5 times with residential components, and the mayor said, no, I don't want residential.
Okay, you only have a story building.
Excuse me.
No, there's condominiums.
Excuse me, everybody else talked. I think the whole problem with residential is everybody's.
He's the one taking all the straws. Yep, that's him.
Okay, I think that's. And it's incredible.
No, Abby.
It's a wonderful. It would be a nice compliment to the neighborhood, a nice job.
Oh, geez,
I just want to follow up what you just said. That building, the Beachcomber, is basically just a bar and a restaurant. And you're adding something different to it. So that's a lot different than just having being in a restaurant. Maybe you're bringing other elements into it. You're not just building on what you have. You're adding to it. You're making commercial. You can go commercial property and you go to residential housing. So I find that important.
I just wanted to ask about the retail part. I mean, I know you put all these plans together, so you put a lot of thought into this. So you must have thought about what kind of retail would fit in there. So could you just extrapolate on that a little bit? What was your original idea of what the retail would be?
I think because for some people know maybe I'm doing your real estate also. So my idea maybe put one brochure on the retail. Brokers like real estate company. One real estate company can be going there.
Real estate office.
Okay, so I don't think it's going to be.
So not another food entity?
No.
Okay. And can you also elaborate on the residential piece? Like, I understand it's from the function hall, but then it sounds to me kind of like an Airbnb type of situation. That concerns me a little bit. The transient population.
The original discussion that we had was to do condominiums and sell them as high-end condominiums. But the initial response that we got from the city, and that's the mayor, is that he didn't want residential use at that location. So we looked at the possibility of having it as a continued commercial type use, where we utilize the residential for the function facility, i.e. short-term furnished rentals, so that people that come into the area and want to rent a place for a month to visit to the Boston area could utilize that to live in that facility.
I don't know, I feel that would be very.
So it's going to be a B&B.
I know, for myself, I think that would be very.
How would you feel? How would the neighborhood feel about condominiums being sold?
Well, I think it's going to be nicer than what's there right now. Okay, I'm not
Ice cream is more not the way real estate.
No, maybe I didn't. All right, and I said that it would be a compatible use with the restaurant. That's the goal, is to try to pick a user. They don't have any user in mind. They don't have any plan for the retail. I know it's going to be 1,800 square feet. Their goal was to pick and choose the retail that they utilize. So it may be an office space if it's more compatible with the parking for the restaurant, for a real estate broker or some other professional type of use, an insurance business or something like that.
All right.
I'll just bring a sign.
Yes, yeah. Just.
Sure.
Grand slam. It's going to start to fall.
Your building, your house is right here. Your house is right here. So the beachcomber being removed is actually going to open up the view for the 15, 17, 19.
It's not going to open up the view for me.
I understand that. You're over here.
That's not true.
That's where we need to
No,
act.
Beachcomber's a one-story building, not a three-story building. I consider the Beachcomber just fine right now. I have no problem.
See you later.
If you put a three-story building in front of all of us, I'm gonna have a problem looking over that. I can look straight, I see your diagram, I can certainly look straight. You're taking half of my view the right way, because I'm not gonna look for you for vision.
That's my view way too.
We got the
Yes, yeah.
The Beachcomber traffic goes over here.
total capacity of the restaurant?
Everything together. You mean the restaurant or how many people can you have in this building at one time? The restaurant, the restaurant was full capacity, and the function hall was full capacity. There would be 240 people on that site. Even with, including the decks. That's what the decks, so that's seasonal as well. 240 each. But that's counting the deck seating, which is only 100 people. And that's the seasonal use. So the interior of the restaurant is really only 100 people.
Will the bar and the restaurant share the same hours? Or will the bar and the
Whatever the city requires for the hours.
Yeah, that would be the city by the restaurant.
The lines are.
But I think they'll be shared.
The lines.
Yeah.
I know there's been a lot said here, and I'm probably going to repeat some of the things. I just wanted to say, I grew up a block away from there. And the flooding had always, we always had water in our basement that day. So that was my first concern when I saw what a large, and I do want to say something positive first. It's a very pretty design, but I think it's too big for that area. I do not live in that area now, but my family lives right down the street from there. We live in Swanton, but we are at Fallaston Beach. We drive the boulevard every day, probably several times a day. We're walking on the beach every single night. And the traffic is very different than it was years ago when the Beachcomber was there. The traffic has probably tripled since the Beachcomber was there. If you go down Quincy Shore Drive any given day or night, since the beach has gotten better, the water, you can't find a parking space. We go over to our family's house to park if we want to go to Tommy's or wherever. The other part of it is residential. The part that was relayed to us earlier, it didn't sound like a good fit there. It's a tight-knit community.
idea of people coming in and staying nights for a wedding or whatever, I don't think that would fit in with that neighborhood. Or even for a month, if people's rented for a month. People in that area, we're all connected neighborhood. We don't want people coming in and out and not caring about what area it's like. The other part is the residential, the retail. You did mention ice cream. Well, we're really tight about our businesses. Maddie's, we're thrilled with Maddie's opened up, ice cream. There's another little ice cream shop on that side. We don't want to see businesses that have established themselves and having to lose their business. And I don't know, retail, I don't know what else would be there to fit. The traffic, every time this summer, because the beach was so crowded, and I'm not kidding, you could not find a space there. We started parking in the Beachcomber parking lot where all the trucks are now. And those cars coming in and out, people speed along, and accidents were about to happen constantly. We saw a fatality there summer before last. So, we do have a lot of really good concerns, but I will have to say that, as someone else said, if you concentrate on a high-end restaurant, I think people will be very happy. We've been talking about it for 2 years. 2 years ago, people started talking, oh, there's a high-end restaurant coming in. And everyone got excited about it and said, gee, that'd be nice. If you want to go to Tony's Grill Clams, you can. If you want to go for a nice dinner, you go there. But the other parts added on,
I'm asking you a question. You walk
I was a kid, I swear at the water all the time. I don't know this flag. Maybe that's what's wrong with it.
Yeah.
Mom.